Joining us now is Michael Riera. He is the Dean of Marin Academy in San Rafael, California. And I just want to ask you, what are your observations so far?
Well, the first one is that I got some good news and some bad news, and teens know this better than their parents do, I think. The bad news is, as parents, we don't have control over our teenagers. We do not have the absolute control that you'd like to think that you have. That scares us, especially with the issues we're talking about today, especially with the issues Brandon's dealing with. The good news is, however, we have a whole lot of influence over our teenagers. And if we can learn to think more about the influence we have, we can really have a big impact on them. One of the biggest secrets of adolescents is that they really care what their parents think. It's hard to go out and tell them that directly. As parents, one of the things this means is our kids learn as much by what we do as what we say. So, given one of the things that's happening with teenagers, all the issues they're facing, their bodies are changing, their minds are changing, their friends are changing, they're trying to make friends, they're having sexual relationships, one of the best things we can do for them is show them how to deal with problems. And the way we do that is by dealing with our own problems. Because when we can deal with our own problems, then the idea of substance abuse, the idea of eating disorders is not nearly as attractive because they've got a means to deal with it. Brandon, I think, is absolutely right. I mean, one of the things that came up for you is that you're doing drugs to avoid your problems, to avoid pain. That's one of the things drugs do. They help us avoid pain, and we get away from it. It feels good for a little while. But then they're there waiting for us afterwards, and then we have to go deal with them. And then it's harder to deal with them because we put them off. So as parents, one of the things we need to do is keep our lines of communication open with our kids, to keep talking to them. You know, there's an interesting statistic that came out. 97% of parents have had the conversation with their kids about drugs and alcohol. Well, hear this. 39% of the kids say they never heard the conversation. What this means is that it's more than one conversation. They're conversations that need to happen again and again. And it's not only from us to them, it's we recruit teachers to talk to them, we recruit coaches to talk to them. Sometimes one of the things we need to do is write them a note. Let them know how much we care about them. Let them know how much we love them and how much we care about them, even though right now we're going to play the tough role because that's what we need to do because they're dealing with some hard issues.
When this show is over, Debbie and Brandon are probably going to have a talk like they have never had in their lives before. These shows do change you. Jackie and Jay are testimony to that. What type of conversation should they have, or what type of conversation should mom sitting at home have with her teenager when they come home today?
I mean, this is a great point because one of the questions is, what do you talk to your teens about? Well, the incident at Woburn, there's a great example to talk about. What's happening here is important to talk about. But don't feel like you have to come to any resolution. It's an ongoing dialogue. You can ask your son or daughter, so has this ever come up with you? What would this be like for you? And they might say some things that are a little uncomfortable for you, but it's better that they're honest and you're a little uncomfortable than they just tell you the party line and then they go do something else.
Jay, I see you shaking your head. Talk to me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with a lot of things that you're saying. I mean, one of the biggest problems, I think, is one of the communications between kids and adults. I mean, for the first major half of our lives, all we know is what we learn from our parents, basically. I mean, they're there all the time. They're the ones that are putting us to bed, you know. They're the ones that were giving us our food, giving us everything. But if we don't see something we like to, like about it, we tend to do just the opposite then.
Riera, did you have a wonderful explanation about parents and your changing relationship between parents and kids?
Yeah, what I say is that metaphorically, when we raise our kids, we're the manager of their life. We organize their life. Think of when your kids were 7 years old. Who was their favorite person in the world? Mommy and Daddy. That's who they wanted to be like. They wanted to dress like us, and we loved it. It feels great, when your kid's dressing like you and talking like you. But when they become a teenager, what they do is, metaphorically, they fire us as the manager of their life. They say, don't need that anymore, and they're right. The thing is, we can't just walk away. If we just walk away, it's abandonment and they're left on their own. If we don't walk away and insist on being manager, then everything's a power struggle.
So what position can a parent play once those kids fire you as manager?
Glad you asked that. The shift that I really think is helpful is to shift more to the role of being a consultant. So you're there for your child, you listen to them, you pay attention to them. One of the suggestions I have for every family is try to eat dinner together.
Ah.
Eating dinner together.
Now, I want to continue on that point because anybody who laughs at that just doesn't get it, because that's what it's about. Families coming together, if for no other reason than around to share chicken leg with each other. It's amazing what'll happen. How to help your teens handle the pressure of experimenting with drugs and sex, and what that sitting around dinner really means. We'll be right back in a minute. Great point. Great point.